citizen.
Out of many
We are world citizens, same vision is for equal rights and justice for the people them. What's happening to this beautiful world that we're living in? World citizen, lift up your voice.
Welcome to another episode of the People Powered Planet podcast, where each week we bring you programs where we work on solutions. Rather than telling you all the terrible problems in the world, we interview solutionaries. And today we have an extraordinary solutionary, Diego Carneiro, who is a visionary social entrepreneur, a celebrity master cellist, an orchestra conductor, and a Rotary Peace Fellow. Now, he's going to tell us today about some of his very special projects to work on uniting the world for peace. Welcome, Diego. Welcome to our program.
Thank you very much, Arthur and Melanie. I've been really looking forward for this opportunity for some time, and I'm so happy we are meeting here after Calgary. And yes, let's talk about music, what's happening in this orchestrating peace program I'm doing, and yeah, lots of news to share with you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, so tell us a little bit more to begin with. What sets you off on a mission to work on building, global bridges between music and humanitarian action to spreading messages of peace? What made you this very special kind of musician?
Well, that's a good question. This is actually goes back when I start to play. I am from the Amazon region, called a place called Belém on the delta of the Amazon, where many people don't know, but we have about 210 dialects. But we don't really connect to the inside. We don't really go through the Amazon. It's quite complicated. So we are kind of isolated in a way in our own big world. And I thought when I started playing the music, when I was 12 years old, I already started traveling the world and through Brazil first, and then US, and then Europe. But then I saw how music created different families in different, like in my case, I could connect to people very deeply, and just because I played the cello music, and I thought that would be a nice story as a peace fellow, going to Uganda. Orchestrating peace means for me that I can create different solutions for in different communities using the power of music to connect them and make them understand each other, love each other, and then the solutions can rise from this first step, which music does.
So orchestrating peace, wow. So right out of your experience, you found that power of music to unite us, which is so true. We all remember the We Are the World and the way that helped unite the world with such an uplifting song. So tell me a little bit more about the specifics of coming out of the Amazon, and tell us a little bit more about how you work with various groups and different people and bring them together with the power of music.
Yeah, so I remember a few months, the first time I played the cello in public, I had probably about 1 week or 10 days. And my mother thought, oh, Diego, let's play into a home care. So she took me to a home care. I played for people who never heard the cello. And I was 12 years old. And I played very, this kind of bad sounds, but people clapped. And then I'm performing. So it's about how you feel towards people. In a way, we are first human beings. Then we are musicians. Probably you have many musicians who became stars, and but we cannot forget that we are serving people in a way. I see music as a mission, not really as something to promote myself as a person, but actually as a mission. So I really think that that was the impact I had. And I learned from my parents, my family, to be a humanitarian first. Then I saw music as as a learning process, and that you want to go to the market, to the industry, which I never really became so interested in that, actually, unfortunately, because coming from Brazil, we're not in the big main industry in music, but when it talks to classical music, cello world. But I have been meeting great people who guided me, and I remember that few months just started to play the cello. I played in a beautiful opera theater called Peace Teatro da Paz, Peace Theater. That was probably the first time I associated my performance with peace. I was 12 years old. in the Amazon. So this came from this theater was built a bit more than 100 years ago, and during the Rotary period. So that's when they brought lots of opera singers and orchestra, and then I was fruits of this mix of exotic Amazon with Europe going there and teaching music, classical music. So that point, I remember that I visualized music as some kind of inspiration tool for other people to improve maybe the mental health, maybe the community conflicts. And then when I was 18, I did my first official peace concert in my region, and that was because there was some kind of conflicts there, and I did the peace concert when I was 18 years old. At the same time, I was in a BBC program, documentary, and I was part of one of the beneficiaries that received 300 more or less instruments. Most of them that we had to fix it, and we create a school in a very isolated community there in the Amazon. So that was the start of my mission, let's say. When I think I told my background, and I was 18, I did that. Then I created something called Amazon Arts, because I thought Amazon Arts, if you divide Amazon Art, you have the Portuguese translations as amar, like love, son, like sound, and art. And that time I visualized create another piece theater. So that was back maybe 2 years ago, and then since then I haven't stopped. So Amazon Arts was the first beginning of my organization in London at that time. I created a series of concerts to promote new music, to promote our projects in the Amazon region. Then my life started changing different directions, but I tell you later when I give you the opportunity for you to ask some questions.
Well, I was fascinated. So here you are, 18 years old. There's a conflict going on, and what do? You start playing music. Tell me how that sort of touched people, how it related to the conflict, how people felt when they're in a conflict, and then here comes somebody playing music to help soothe their souls.
I always say that music, the process of making music, is very similar to the process of making peace. So, for example, what you do, I use 4 elements. Intonation, the first one. The first one, you have to tune to people or to musicians, right? To make music into sound, you tune to the sound of people, to the sound of music. And sound is our essence. So you have to work on the intonation in our essence, in our sound, and then it comes the rhythms. The rhythms is the structure, or it's there. We need to understand each other's, otherwise you're going to have rhythms against another rhythms, like a waltz against, for example, think about the conflict between listen to a waltz, 1, 2, 3, 1, and then when you play on the top of salsa, it actually creates conflicts. You don't understand, you cannot dance. So when you dance to a rhythm, is actually when you understand each other, you feel each other, you become a partner, and then that is when we're starting to understand the peace process. But to make it sustainable, we have always to make the peace process sustainable. We need to be able to train ourselves to understand also how to overcome challenges, and that I call in music dynamics. So when you start to understand the dynamics, piano, forte, then you understand how to make those dynamics work in a melody. The melody then shines. The melody becomes magical and touches people's heart. So that's the way to do peace, through music. You organize. You need to be able to, of course, to make an effort to make this possible.
I'm very interested in your concept that making peace is like a dance, and that in fact there are, some dances that have conflict built into the dance, and then the resolution and the coming together and the kind of really melding of two separate opposite sides into some kind of a oneness. Tell us a little bit more about that. It's fascinating.
Well, I wish I could show you when there is like a tension between a chord. I don't know if you can hear that. Then
Well, for some reason, Zoom filters out the music. It's a
I'm
terrible
sorry.
feature.
When you have a dissonance, there is a tension. That's a metaphor, right? When you sort this dissonance, you look for consonance or unisono. Then it becomes a peaceful, and you can say that we are actually collaborating. So I remember being, for example, there's another point now around this question. When I was in Uganda borders with Congo, I asked someone in the middle of the jungle, right? I said, I was playing for young people, refugees, and one boy, I said, any questions? This boy said, yes, I have a question. He was 12 years old. And then he said, does your instrument also play happy music? I thought it was a great question for me. It changed my life in a way. So when you see my videos, it's all about now how to integrate this concept. Peace means many things for different cultures. Whatever it means for him is happiness, right? Basically. And happiness, you are never sad when you dance. I haven't seen people dancing sadly. So when they dance, they are happy. That's their message. So I integrate that to my cello. I did a video with the Ghetto Kids, which is the most famous group, dancing group now of young kids in Uganda, in Africa. So basically, peace has different needs and different meanings. And when I played recently Dubai for the Rotary conference there, had a different meaning as, for example, diversity. They talk about diversity. But when I translate to music, I look for consonants, transform conflict dissonant to a consonant. We can even be more technical, a fifth chord dominant going to a first chord, tonic. So basically, we feel that inside of us. It's not only a technical thing. We feel that inside of us. It's a very psychological process that music evokes in our ears and our mind, our brain. So basically, I do think that teaching music should be / teaching peace building. And that's what I'm working on. So I create a campaign called Instruments of Peace. So we need to if you want to be a peace builder musician, you need to create strategies that can integrate different points of views that people perhaps they've never seen the cello or music, but they can be an instrument of peace. And that Instruments of Peace is a new campaign that we are doing now. That is a very beautiful because everybody nowadays, they perhaps they don't know how to. We don't know how to be an instrument of peace, but if you have this mindset, we can embrace causes. We can just leave our, I've been traveling in the US, right? And now in Canada. But in US, many people, Rotary clubs, and some clubs also in Canada are participating on that. And I invite all of you who want to be part of it. The first thing we are doing is we are sending a big container full of 258 instruments. Most of them people donated, like used instruments. Also, they are going to Ecuador to our school there, Orchestra. So that's the first thing. The second will be creating workshops around with these instruments and performing. But I want to create another peace theater, or a cultural center that promotes music with peace building. That's the vision.
You mentioned so many things. I'd like to jump off on each one of them, and the harmonic part of music and the way it brings us together, and instruments for peace. So I'll tell you what, before we go to the specific instruments for peace in Ecuador, which is a key thing we want to talk about, let's take a moment, because all of this grows out of the music, to hear a little clip of your music.
Hola, buenas tardes. ¿Cómo está?
Buenas tardes.
¿Todo bien?
Todo bien.
No siento molestarles, yo estoy buscando el chota.
El chota, ahí está.
Me llamo Diego Carneiro. ¿Y usted?
Fernando Calderón.
Fernando Calderón, un gusto. Este aquí es mi amigo Chelo, está viajando junto conmigo. Buenos días. Qué paisaje hermosa, inspiradora. Realmente perfecto para hacer música. Hola, ¿cómo está? ¿Todo bien? idea cómo hace eso.
Yo soy la reina de la bomba. Yo cuando bailo, cuando estoy bailando, no tengo hambre, no tengo frío, no tengo sed, no tengo nada, no tengo nada.
¿Ya había visto o escuchado un cello antes?
No había
¿La
visto.
primera vez?
No es guitarra, es violín,
Es parecido con violín.
es violín,
No, sabía.
Es un violín grande. Cello.
Es violín,
Hemos llegado a Tumbatu, el pueblo donde tú vas a aprender sobre la bomba.
¡Qué lindo puente! El del Juncal. ¡Qué lindo puente! El del Juncal.
Mira, esta mano aquí es de violonchelista, esta aquí, ¿cómo es? Bombero.
Bombero, digamos.
Un gusto, un honor conocerle.
Tres Marías.
Le voy a dar un abrazo.
El instrumento es mi propia boca.
En Santa Elena hay una niña, pura y hermosa como un jardín. Ella solita se mantenía, regando flores en su jardín.
Enseñarles para que aprendan lo que nosotros sabemos, que no se acabe esto, que sigan adelante.
Ave María.
Tocamos bailando y dices, quítate de mi delante, coge la cama y echate, alista la cartuchera que esta noche del combate.
Bajo el doctor José María Velasco Ibarra de Quito, sufrir con paciencia no por temor al castigo, ni espera de recompensa.
¡Qué bonito! Corre el agua debajo de los almendros. Así correrá mi amor si no vieran malas lenguas.
Bailando, tú puedes bailar también con brazos, así como un poco a bomba, pero más despacio, ¿ya? Eso. Era como una danza de cortejo, se dice, ¿no? Aparte.
Wow, that was amazing. Oh my God, I could just really feel how that, wow, that music really did become an instrument of peace. We could see how it was just bringing everybody together, breaking down any borders, any separations. Wow, very, very well done. So tell me, where was that?
That one was in Ecuador.
In Ecuador.
In a
Great.
place called Cota, in a community, very interesting community, sort of isolated. They never seen the cello there, so I did other videos how I connect them to Uganda. In the next video, if there is time, you can see that, and you see that we are very similar to each other. We probably speak different languages, but we have same problems and same solutions. And our emotions are this, when you use emotions, we are very similar to each other. So music make us feel that. And when I went to India this year, I spent 1.5 months, and I could see the diversity there. But the result, the impact is very similar. So there is this magical dimension that music brings us to that avoids conflicts to escalate. I mean, maybe there is a conflict, but when you work on the process of making in tune your emotions to other people, and you start to be close to what is the process of understanding, in another level and on a deeper level. Maybe you don't need to understand the language, but you need to feel it, how people react to music, or how we integrate, how we dance together, and how we play together. So I saw that. So what I do on my performances, live performance, I improvise also with the audience. I integrate. I tell them stories about the Amazon, about Uganda, and about different places I've been. About 60 countries I've been traveling, and since I became a Peace Fellow, it's been more than ever traveling different cities I met. Like, probably people think there is no hope for peace, what's happening, but there are amazing people wanting to do peace, and if we connect them, this is gonna be we're gonna find many solutions. Yes.
Wow. So have you had some examples of where there was an actual conflict, where there were people on opposite sides of a dispute, of a war, of a conflict, and where your
Yes.
music brought them together?
Yes. Very good question. That's sometimes people ask me this, but back in 2000, let's say 16, there was a huge earthquake in Quito and a big tragedy. It was about on the 16th of April. I was there going to play a concert. I made an orchestra. I did an orchestra of young people from different areas in Ecuador to fundraise to reconstructing some of those buildings which were damaged. Like, that was my reaction to it. And then 1 week later, we did that. Suddenly, this escalated. So, like, when conflicts escalate, we also need to think that solutions escalate when you go in the same way. For example, once I did the orchestra, CNN or Deutsche Welle, other people called me to interview me, and then I suddenly that's why I thank you, Arthur, because what you do, you promote that, you become a vehicle, a tool for everybody who is doing something. You become the door that introduced to many other people, and that many people are connecting to me now. Thank you for that. Just want to say, but I want to going back to the point is that in that same period I was there, there is a huge, still there is, but that time was a very intense conflict among Venezuelans refugees with local, the countries they were. So Ecuador is the biggest after Colombia. How can I say, receivers? Do you know what I mean? Like they live there and they look for better life. And at that time, the borders, they were so there were thousands of people, 14,000 people there. They couldn't pass. They didn't know what to do with them in that conflict and in that border between Colombia and Ecuador. There were many Venezuelans walking through that time, 3 weeks to get to Ecuador, but they couldn't be passing. So people didn't have food, clothes, or some of people dying there. It's a very difficult situation. I went there and I saw the situation, and I couldn't imagine. I couldn't really believe they were so much abandoned there, thousands of people. I couldn't stop crying. That's the truth. And it's still nowadays difficult for me when I saw it. And I like when you talk about refugees, it's the worst, perhaps most sensitive case because it has everything inside of it. So what happened was I brought an orchestra that combines all these musicians from these areas, and an orchestra that at that time I called Youth Orchestra of Ecuador, but it was I brought an orchestra, I brought solutions, I brought people, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, I brought many organizations, United Nations. We did a huge action for 3 days in the borders and different parts of the countries, like around the border, so they could pass. And not only that, some of them there, they were musicians, and they still play with us. They teach, so they found a new life in our music program. And then since then, it was 2018. Since then, we created a lots of opportunities for them, and a good message. At that time, I was not a peace fellow. I didn't really think about that because I didn't know about the possibility. But then it came COVID, and then we had sort of restart. Then it created even more difficulty for us. As a musicians, we don't have so many opportunities, and during COVID, even worse. So what we did, we created a campaign for to get musicians who were actually selling the instruments or to survive. So they didn't want to do music anymore, and meaning that lots of them went to the streets. Meaning also that that they during COVID, they didn't have where to go, food. So we started as an institution. We started music institution. We started to help them find places and food, shelters. Then we created a program called Music as Refuge. We went to many cities in Ecuador with an organization called World Food Program, and we worked this series of concerts and performances and around refugee camps, and found integrated people who were musicians in our program. And since then, we never stopped. I mean, since then the instruments campaign donation started, so I could give them back. So basically, since a conflict, music goes deeper and find other conflicts, but we kind of find different solutions when we connect through music. And then all I'm doing now is a result of this first conflict that I mentioned to you, which was on the borders of Colombia and the Ecuador.
Wow, well, that is exactly the conflict that's going on around the world, where borders, that's what our whole movie, The World is My Country, is about how do we build a world beyond these borders. And all over the world, these invisible lines we've drawn, are separating people and causing and then the disruptions that are happening because of the global economy going totally the wrong direction, or giving people no hope but to try to cross to another place. People don't want to be deluged. And you've somehow found in the midst of that something that really is healing and that has touched people. That's really extraordinary and something the world needs so much now. How do you see scaling that up worldwide? And after this question, I'll ask you to tell us a little bit about scaling that up, about the Pacific Instruments for Peace, and after that we're going to go to questions. But go ahead. First, tell us how that can be, that experience you had between the border of Colombia and Ecuador and touching people's souls there, how that could be brought to a kind of a world perspective.
So, yeah, I try to actually touch people's hearts, right? In both, if you talk about borders, is to diminish borders, basically. How music can diminish boundaries and create this dimension, a neutral one that we can work on together. So concerts, they bring this first step, using their language, which their culture, mixing them, and really being passionate about it. So it's difficult, Arthur. Honestly, it's not easy to do that. You need to. Funds is the most, perhaps it's difficult, but it's not the most difficult. I think it's actually find the right mindset. I mean, loving people. I think that's the first step we have to do, is to accept people and the difficulties we have and how to integrate. So creating teams. That's why I call orchestrating, right? An orchestra is basically we have different sounds, different instruments, different voices, different registers, and we need to empower leaders in each section. When you just empower them, they become so passionate about what the mission is, and they can create also different ways of interpreting and create their own language to sort out their own solutions there. So I'm looking for people that actually can connect in this level. They can guide me. We can share our paths, and we can learn from each other, but also being active. There is no one single day I'm not active since then. I mean, since when I go back to my teens, I told you, but since I became a Peace Fellow every day. So yes, we need to find a way to create, for example, Rona is in the Philippines, right? I'm now in Canada, but I'm from Brazil, but actually, so the world becomes so our planet that in a way music makes so much connection in this world. So we don't really, I don't think that like I am, my nationality is this. I am a musician who is trying to promote one word. So I was going to go, that's funny, to like 1 month ago, that maybe I should just say this, en passant. I was going to play on the border of Canada and the US, but they said, no, wait a little bit. So I did play in many vulnerable places. Then I realized that what we can do is to empower people in different areas of the world. I think that's what I'm trying to do. So I don't think that we should be political about it. I don't think we should go and try to make ourselves more important than other people. But what you can, it's just a way to swing together. When you make music, we call the word swing also, right? So you asked me about the Instruments of Peace campaign. So as I mentioned before, that Instruments of Peace can be our own voices to connect to people and promote our own, being a hand to people, to communities, to all communities we're involved with. So the campaign by it specifically goes that people start to donate instruments, buy instruments, and that goes to different musicians or students or young kids in our program. We take those instruments and teach them to play in the vulnerable places. And Ecuador has become, like if you compare 5 years ago, more violent. Lots of problems with also drugs. But there is so much beauty there, so much the Amazon, Galapagos, the Andes, all these places that people love to go. And I thought, how can we promote something that can not escalate the violence? So I thought, in the beginning, we create something called Violins Against Violence. So basically going to the vulnerable places, teaching the instruments, and getting the young people, giving them something to do, some more purpose, with the mission of peace building. Not only playing the notes, but teaching them how to create a change lives through music. So that's the impact when I calls. When I get all these 250 instruments now, plus what we have, plus what will come, and create different nucleus, like I would say, cells. And then the Instruments of Peace campaign started, the name itself very recently, but the idea started many years ago already. As I told you, when I was 18, we received many hundreds of instruments, so I haven't stopped. But the Instruments of Peace campaign goes along with my Peace Fellowship. Kind of fits very well. So I am thinking of finding different places to also take in the future more instruments, like in Uganda or other places like in India. So because I think that would be I have some good connections there. But because I've been working, I did a concert there this year called the Eco Peace Concert, where you use environmental issues to create peace. But the campaign itself, it's about donating funds also to buy instruments. Now, the instruments are going to go to the port of Guayaquil, then I have to get them to Quito, which is transportation, logistics, fixing instruments. We have to fix, and we need also to find scholarships for teachers to teach. So we are creating an online team that can help us to help our teachers to even teach in a better way, with new methods, beginners. And that's, I'm looking for this partnership with institutions that can help us with.
Violins vanquish violence. That's so cool, so wonderful that you're empowering these kids and getting these instruments to them. How can people help contribute to that campaign? And after, tell us that, and then we'll move to general questions.
Thank you. So in the U.S., I created an organization, 501c3, where people can help us through this organization and get some tax deduction. So I know people. This facilitates the process. So we can contact our website. that it's called Friends of Music in the Americas. So I try to connect the whole Americas. I know there are many names, but I try to promote different places in different places, different names. But then you can also talk to Rona about she's gonna give. You can social media. You can find me there. You can contact us via email. But the easiest way is going to be through our website. I think you promote that with some days ago, right? My friend Arthur. So
yes,
that maybe you can share this with people, this flyer, this information there. That will be very helpful.
Well, let me turn this over now to Melanie to handle the question period.
Wow. So, oh my gosh. Diego, you were saying earlier, how busy you are, but thank goodness for you. Thank you for being in this world. Thank you for your work. Oh my gosh, so powerful and so important. And yes, what a great video. Oh my gosh. Okay, so please, I'll just note, I put in the chat where you can support Diego. I highly recommend just clicking on that and giving some money or instruments, whatever you can do. That would be great. Or I think Quanta has something she would like to offer. So we'll go to Quanta. Quanta, go right ahead.
Well, thank you very much. It's good to see you, son. I sent you messages on WhatsApp, but what I wanted to tell you is I just came out of a board meeting with a group. It's a global group, and they're having a 24 around the clock every day in September for a few days. And we are going to be collaborating with them, with my district, because I just formed a new club called Club for Inner Peace, and I'm the president of it. And I would like to invite you either to make a recorded comment about 21st of, it's going to be United Nations Peace Day on the 21st of September. And I am reaching out to 2 million people. Okay. So you're going to have a very, very wide, incredible exposure. So I would like for you to either record something, or maybe when I have the time of that day, get in touch with me, because this is 2 million, just my people. And that doesn't include that organization. I don't know how many million people they have. Okay. So I just wanted to say, and it's so good to see you.
Deixa que eu deram. So, Mama Quanta, thank you. We met, she was I think you were part of my Peace Fellowship application, right? You were part of the board, right?
Yeah, we interviewed you and I approved your application, yes.
Thank you very much. They did a huge interview with me, like twice or 3 times. I was a bit scared, but I managed to go through. And then Quanta connected me to Turkey also, where I actually played for the peace concert there in Istanbul this year, right? So that was a great experience. And then Quanta is Turkish. Thank you very much. I'll be recording this video, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Quanta. Beautiful, amazing, exciting. Now we want to go to Sutiti. Sutiti, go right ahead.
Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to all my friends. And I just hope I am very elated because Diego is here and he's my Facebook friend. And I get all his updates, what's happening with him, where he's going, where he's traveling. And so nice to see you online, live, for the first time. And you are doing some incredible amount of work building peace through music. I think hats off to you, because music is a great way to connect people and also to build peace. And I have been involved in activities which included music as a peace building initiative when I used to work on peace building initiatives. So it is a very powerful medium, and what you're doing is not easy. It is a very tough thing, but the way you're doing it, the way you're portraying it, the way you're telling it, it seems so easy, and it's so easy to connect with people. And Thank you so much for doing such incredible amount of work, and I would love to see you here in India. I know you were in India, but I think 2-3 months back, but I couldn't make it to that program. But I would love to see you here, along with all my friends from worldismycountry.com. And I just would love to know one thing from your side. Music is a great way to connect. I think it's a soul building activity. It's a way to connect with God. That's how I perceive music, because it takes you to a journey on a different level, and it takes you to a journey where you realize yourself, you connect, you build, you understand yourself. So for me, I want to know, what is music to you, and why have you chosen this difficult path, and what motivated you to take this role? Yeah.
Very much. Suti, where are you now? Which city?
I'm in India, in Kolkata.
Kolkata. So I haven't been there. I will be there soon. I loved India. It transformed my life in many ways. I traveled north, south, and Dhanawad. You know, some people even spoke Portuguese to me there. And I mean, there are so many languages that I learned from. In food is great. Music, Carnatic music, which is probably what you can refer also to. So I will probably be back there this year in Pune. There is an opportunity. But when you ask a question about, it's a very philosophical question, but if I want to be practical about it, what is music for me? It just came to me the word life. So when you don't have music, there is no life. Let's put it that way. So music is the sound that makes our revive us. So when that can be true in many directions. For example, when you go back to 98 or something like this, BBC in London, how can I diminish violence in a community using the power of music? So they put it lots of speakers in the most vulnerable area of Harrow on the Hill, which is in the area of North London, bus and train tube station. Then they started to, for 24 hours, to have those musics they research that can create an effect, a peaceful effect on us. Instrumental music mainly, and harmonious music, and that created a huge impact. In 3 months, it diminished the violence. So we didn't have, for example, when you say, when you go and rob people and you hear Mozart, P, ta 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 ti ta, there is no way. There is some kind of energy level that protects that kind of thing. So it really helped in that sense. So when I say music is life, actually, music is the voice that we manifest. As you said God, and I can see this in Indian music, Carnatic music especially. And I've been trying to understand, but it's difficult to have a certain answer, like one answer for that. But I did a metaphor. So then when you create an opportunity to make music with a message, it moves people. It moves people towards this dimension, to this thought. It tunes people. So if you want, then Arthur asked me how can they help. Like instruments of peace could be spread when you create more concerts. So I did create Friends of Music in the Americas to try to create those cells of communities that create music for a cause in different areas. So we can do that in India. There are people who do it. Rampi, I think, is here. She's doing that, and she took me to Bangalore. We did. She organized, and I was part of it. Peace conference there, and I used music, and I could see this was in Bangalore how people reacted to what I played on the cello. I played a bit of Indian music there. It was great. Maybe Rampi, if you're around, you can talk about that. Yes. So. Thank you for your question, and I will be looking forward to meet you again soon.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Titi. You're so full of joy and energy. And Diego, great response. Rampriya, do you want to say something?
It was an absolute joy to listen to my dear friend today. And yes, I actually do believe that music can heal, and music has a power within it. And building peace should be very easy, actually, with such a powerful tool. And thank you, Diego, for introducing me to this, line of thought. And of course, we envision to work with you and others to build peace through music.
Nandri.
Okay, yeah.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful. And for our last, Rana, would you like to say something?
Actually, no, just mention because I've been working with Diego for some time now, and I have witnessed a lot of things about him for the past few months. And Diego is one of the most passionate person I ever met in my life. He's amazing. He really speaks from the heart. When he says something, it's genuine. It's not make up. It's coming from the heart, and that's why I really like to be this person, and I like to work with this person, and it's actually he's a magnet. He has, aside from being so charismatic person, so he's also the kind of person who he loves music, of course, but aside from that, he's a really busy person. I don't even know if he's still sleeping. As you can see the schedule, after this podcast, he will have a concert. He was invited to play in Toronto later at 6:45, and tomorrow he's gonna have another concert. And he is gonna have to travel back to US for another concert. So it's a series of concerts just for this Instruments of Peace campaign to deliver those instruments to back to Ecuador. So I'm a witness of Diego's very passionate thing about music. So yeah, I'm very glad to be working with him. I don't know.
Well, I just met Diego and I totally agree. So, and he's very busy. So we'll go back to Arthur, and then wait, before we go back, Diego, thank you again.
Thank you for a very, very extraordinary chat. And boy, we would all love to spend hours and hours with you, and also be in watching some of your concerts, because you've touched us today in powerful ways. And so thank you very much. I want to invite everyone to come each and every week to our podcasts. And between our speakers, once a month, we have wonderful speakers. But we also have have action days. We have days where we have socials and we all get to chat. I'd love to meet each of you and chat and hear about each one of you. If you can come next week and every week, and we can get a chance to know each other better. And so keep spreading the music, keep spreading the word. Every one of you make music in your own way, even if it's just humming in the shower. Everybody make music. We can all do it. That was fascinating in the videos, by the way, the wonderful instruments that people made who didn't have instruments, just with their bodies. So we're all musicians. Let the music shine. Thank you, everybody, and see you next week and every week on the People Powered Planet podcast.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
World citizen, lift up your voices. Oh, you know we got something to say. All we need is the same directions, heading in one way.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe to our channel and like this video.